Today I'm going to introduce you to MiterSet. MiterSet is a precision jig used to turn any standard miter gauge for your table saw into a precision layout instrument. There's MiterSet Standard and there's MiterSet Segment. MiterSet is an aluminum anodized and laser etched plate that's bisected by a miter slot. Each side has a series of holes. MiterSet Standard is set up in 5-degree increments, which allows you to set your miter gauge for cutting from 0 up to 52.5 degrees for perfect miter joints. MiterSet Segment is set up with the number of segments required for gluing up perfect 360-degree projects. For example, if you have a glue-up project that requires 10 segments, you place your pin in the number 10, set your gauge, and that will yield 10 perfect segments for 360-degree glue-ups. MiterSet Standard is used to set your standard miter gauge in increments of either 5 degrees, or when using the associated detent bar, in half-degree increments. So you can set angles from half a degree up to 52.5 degrees, depending on how you use the detent bar. Let me show you how it works. I've got the miter gauge from my table saw, and it really doesn't matter how accurate I have the protractor set, because I know when I put my miter gauge into the miter slot and I press the face of the gauge firmly against the 2 tapered pins, that now I have a perfect 90-degree angle. Now, let's say I wanted to set 45. I just take one of the pins and put it up in the sector for a left-hand cut, and now I just move the face of the gauge up and I lock it down, and now I have a perfect 45-degree angle. Let's take a 22.5-degree angle. So what I do is I take my pin and I put it in the 20-degree hole. Now I take the detent bar that comes with the MiterSet Standard, and you can see that this has notches in it from half a degree up to 2.5 degrees over here. So what I can do is place the flat edge against the 0 pin and then recess my angle 2.5 degrees against the sector pin and simply move the face into position and lock it down. 20 plus 2.5 degrees of recess is a 22.5-degree angle. It's that easy. Now MiterSet Segments is set up a little differently. This one is set up with the math already applied to the plate. Let me show you how easy it is to create a 7-segment project. Now, anyone who's created a 7-segment project knows how difficult it is to set the angle, which is 25.714 degrees. But with MiterSet, it's very easy. I simply take one pin and I place it in the 7-segment slot, and I slide my miter gauge up to the face and I lock it down, and now I'm going to have 7 perfect segments that, when glued together, are going to yield 360 degrees with no gaps and no sanding required. Let me show you how that works over at the table saw. I've added a fence extension to my miter gauge so I can have better control while making my cuts. Once I get all 7 segments cut, I'm going to place the segments joint to joint on a piece of masking tape. Masking tape is a great way to keep even the smallest segments in place during layout. As I made the cuts, I took care to place the segments in the order that I had cut them. And as I place them on the tape, I make sure that the segments are laid out in order. This material is common pine I purchased from a big box store. It has not been jointed or planed, and it had a good deal of crown along its 8-foot length. This will be a good test of MiterSet's accuracy. The masking tape makes it easy to roll my layout into a full 360-degree component for my glue-up project. I can already tell that I'm getting good results. These joints are going together tightly. Great results with no gaps, no sanding, and no wasted material.